Ready, set, go.
Welcome to The Sweet Spot, an Updog podcast. I'm Andrea Morissette.
And I am Jack Bailey, and we are your hosts today. Dre, who do we have as our guest today?
We have this guy, Finn, here. Do you guys see this guy down there?
Hello.
Finn as our host, not our host, as our guest today, who also happens to be one of the people that are absolutely dominating in distance and far out. So he is here to talk about his earth-shifting UpDiff experience of dominating long distance at our UpDiff 2025.
So this is one of our Champion Series episodes. After UpDiff, of course, we have, how many games do we have, Dre? 11? 12? 11? So we have 11 champion episodes that we'll be doing this year as we talk to each of the champions of the different games. So Finn is here to talk to us, like Dre said, about his experience in Far Out, and we'll get into some other topics, I'm sure, as well. So Dre, you want to get us started with the first question?
Yeah. So Finn, people have heard your name, I'm sure, by now. But for those of you who don't know you, or for those listeners who haven't heard about you yet, where are you from? Tell us a little about your dogs and maybe about your local club. And how old you are.
My name is
That's also super.
Yes. My name is Finn Proctor. I am 15. I'll be turning 16 in June. I am located in Central Virginia, and I believe around 2020, we started our club, and that was around my second year of playing disc, and by then it was just toss and fetch. Like all I did was, for about 5 years, that was all I did was toss and fetch. So we had our own league, and then we kind of branched out into Updog, and then I did my first distance competition in, I think, early 2023 or late 2022, one of those. But it was I'm pretty new to Far Out. I've only played Far Out since, I think, 2024. Because that was the first year I qualified for it. But so it was fun going to UpDiff, my first UpDiff, and that was a pretty fun experience overall.
All right, so Finn, UpDiff 2025, Far Out champion. Not only Far Out champion, but you took first, second, and third. Didn't let anybody else on the podium. So my question is, which dog was first place?
Yep. That was Rumor. That was my little border collie.
Okay, and then second place was a dog that's owned by somebody else, right?
Yes, that was Sam's dog, Gurr. He's the mini dog. He's a micro or mini and up dog. Yeah.
Okay, and I know Gurr is quite a good player, a good dog. And then third place, which dog did you take third place with?
That was Neverland. That was our little guy.
Okay, so two of the dogs are your dogs, and then Gurr is your dog that Sam owns, right?
Yeah, borrowed.
Okay. So first of all, did you have any thoughts about it going into UpDiff? Did you think I think I could do this? Who were you worried about? Was there anybody that you were oh, I don't know about that person?
Well. And also, it was a lot because it was my first year going. It was my last year as a junior. I didn't know who else was going to be there, really. I didn't know who competed a lot in Far Out. I didn't know most of the people, and I'm kind of new to Far Out as a whole. So, and I'd only played I think about 10 rounds before UpDiff because, of course, as a junior, the points are a lot lower to qualify. So I only needed one round. So I didn't really know who was going to be there, who was going to be the biggest competition.
Okay.
Just trying to go and hopefully have fun.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the main thing. So I got one more question about Gurr. So I don't know about the borrowed dog thing because I'm just not a Far Out. I can throw 45 yards. So that's not going to do anything for me in Far Out. But how does that work with borrowing a dog? Did you have a chance to practice with Gurr?
Well, as I said, like the junior qualification was pretty low because it's half. So I only played one round with him prior to going to UpDiff.
Okay.
And yeah, I played a couple other games with him, I think Throw and Go and Time Warp, but I'd only ever played one round of Far Out with him. So
Gotcha.
I didn't know quite like what he would do, how like what was going to be his best, if he was good at rollers or flyers, because there's some dogs that don't like rollers, don't like flyers. Like that's, I mean, my who I got first with, Rumor, she won't catch flyers if they're that far. She kind of gives up halfway. That's way too far. So she'll only do rollers. And I have and Fig, who I think he got like fourth or fifth place, at least in the juniors. He's not as good, not as consistent with rollers. He's pretty good at flyers, but not as consistent with rollers. So it's kind of hit or miss sometimes with him if he'll catch one or just run it over pretty much.
Yeah, every dog's kind of different, right? And you
Yeah,
got to figure
definitely.
out the right strategy for each one of them.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, I mean, and you're relatively new to disc in general, but just sort of heard your name pop out of nowhere. Everybody talking about this kid named Finn that had this huge arm and was winning distance competitions everywhere. So I know you're newer to Far Out, but you've been playing the quad and you've been playing Hero Cup and you've been playing other organizations too. When did you start playing disc? And when you did you focus, like, has it always been long distance?
It When I started, it was in toss and fetch. So I
Mhm.
started with someone else's dog. I played toss and fetch for about, I think, 2 years before I got Rumor, who was my first border collie that we got to play disc. And then I believe my first distance event was in 2023 or 2022, is sometime around then. And I that was either an XD or a quad. And I believe I played a few XDs. I played a season of quads, and then 2024 was my first time playing Far Out. We had played a couple Updog games late 2023, but too late to qualify for UpDiff, so we didn't go in 2024. But I tried to qualify for as much as I could in 2024 so I can go to UpDiff this year.
Did you take any like long distance throwing lessons from anyone?
Um, Derek Martin I started playing at his club in Toss and Fetch, and he's been kind of mentoring me in distance. He's really he's been a big help with everything distance wise.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's go back to UpDiff for a second here again. So did you like the rounds that I saw you play, and I didn't see all of them because I was walking around doing lots of things,
Yeah.
but
You're busy.
the ones that I saw you threw rollers.
Yeah.
Did you throw all rollers, or did you throw sometimes air for certain dogs, rollers for others?
So I threw mostly rollers because the conditions of that field and the wind were really good for backhand rollers, essentially. I did throw, I believe, one or two throws for Fig to start because I didn't know, as I said, like if he's kind of hit or miss with rollers. So I threw a couple air throws, like my first couple throws. Then I threw some rollers, and he did catch a couple of them. But it was kind of like I didn't quite know if that was going to be successful for him, so I threw a flyer just to see, like, get a catch on the board, pretty much,
Yeah.
and then try to throw some longer rollers.
So it sounds like don't let me put words in your mouth, but what I heard you say, and tell me if I'm right, is like the conditions there kind of encouraged you to throw rollers because of the wind and because of the grass being so nice.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
it did seem like they just went on forever. Like,
Yeah.
when someone threw a good roller, it just kept going and going. And your scores are crazy. Like every one of your dogs is over 300, total points, which is, that's an amazing score in Far Out. So I'm sure you've heard some talk about, rollers and air throws and
Yeah.
which ones are better, or should rollers be allowed to compete against air throws? You got any opinions on that, Finn?
Well, there's a lot of factors that determine whether air throws or rollers would be better. And one of the big things about that field was the grass is really short, so there's not as much resistance for the disc rolling along the ground. And especially on Wednesday when we did far out, the wind was very good from the start line. It was kind of going left to right and a little bit of a tailwind, and that's really good for rollers because how about this? Because if it's rolling like this and the wind's coming here, it's pushing the disc up and keeping it so it stays up longer, and that's why you see all these rollers just going so far after they've hit the ground because the wind's just holding them up. And even after like they gradually lose spin, it's almost they're just standing there pretty much, and that gives the dog time to catch up. But if you go to somewhere that has maybe longer grass, softer ground, right, or the wind's really bad, then rollers aren't going to go anywhere, and flyers would be a much better option. And I've seen that before in many places.
Well, you weren't at UpDiff last year, but if you
I
ask anyone, have you heard of what they had to
I
do?
heard of the lake far out. I did hear
Yes.
that.
Yeah, there were no rollers happening
No
last
rollers
year.
going through Lake Far Out
Yeah, I
last
can't
year.
go through a puddle.
Yeah.
But I like that. I like that this year the wind was strongly for something. It just
Yeah,
makes it interesting. Just like the year before, the weather was strongly for air throws. I actually like that it was strongly for rollers to change it up a little bit.
yeah.
But that's been
And
an
it's not
ongoing
so much.
controversy for a while.
Yeah, this year it's not so much it was bad for air throws. Like air throws were still going really far, and you could see that like a lot of the people that knew how to use the wind to their advantage. I mean, Gary Duke, like they could throw really far, but it was just a little bit better with rollers. They were just going a little bit farther, and that's of course how you get better scores. You just get like 10 extra yards over 3 throws is 30 extra points, and that can be a lot depending on the
Yeah.
round and the dog and who else is competing.
Yeah, definitely. Just like you said, an extra 10 yards, you do that 3 times. That's
Yeah.
a lot of points. That's a lot of distance to make up.
That's probably how he ended up sweeping, honestly, because even like with Gary with the air throws, he can regularly throw, 90s
Yeah.
and pull out the hundreds every once in a while. But to have 3 catches over 100, I don't know that we've seen that in the air throws.
I think I
Maybe one
for
with
yeah,
flat.
for my highest score, which was 337 points, I had 100, 117, and then 120.
And those were all rollers or those were air
Yeah,
throws?
those were all rollers. That was for rumor.
I'd be interested to see what our highest score. This could be a fun analytical thing to look up in our UpDog database to see what our highest score is for air throws only versus what our highest score is for rollers only. Because I can't imagine that in that like 90-second format, somebody could pull off 300 plus throws and catches for the dog like as not like it's easy, but as easily as you could
Yeah.
rollers over that 100-yard mark.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a little easier on a roller favorable day to be able to pull 3 over 100 versus a dog being able to get 3 over 100 of the. So this just brings up that debate, right, against rollers and air throws. Do you think we should or should not have separate? Like, do you think it's fair that rollers versus out throws, depending on whatever people decide to throw? Do you think it should be separate? Do you think it's good that they compete against each other because of the
Uh,
variables? Like it's everybody has a choice to throw whatever
yeah.
they want to throw.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that like you could say are against rollers. There's a lot of factors like for rollers and the same with flyers. Some dogs won't catch roll like I have dogs that will only catch rollers. I have dogs that are much better catching flyers. And of course, like the conditions, the wind, the field, everything is going to affect what what is going to be better. And I think it's really cool because you have rollers and flyers that the highest level you're essentially you're looking at the conditions of the field and the wind and you're making the decision, is flyers going to be better, is rollers going to be better, and you can of course mix and match those depending on what's going to get you the highest score essentially.
Yeah. So you like that you can have both in the same division. You don't think that we need to.
I think yeah, I do like that you can like kind of you can interchange them. I think one of the things that I've seen that would be like the best alternate option would be having a division just for flyers, and then a division where you can do flyers and rollers. And that also like makes a lot of sense. And of course there's drawbacks to both of them. There's like pros and cons to having both. So I think there's a lot of factors that people could say rollers are not as good because they can go farther. Flyers are not like I think there's a lot that you could argue for both.
That's super interesting, but your two categories were one, this reminds me of the freestyle conversation, Jack, and we got to mention freestyle. Whoop, whoop. That brings up the freestyle conversation that the divisions he chose were rollers and flyers and rollers.
Yeah.
Or flyers only. Flyers only.
Yeah, flyers and rollers and flyers.
So it wasn't a rollers only category and a flyers only category. It was a combined category and then throwers only. Basically, for the people that don't like rollers, fine, go be in your other division.
Yeah. And also there's a lot of the field has to be a lot better for rollers in order to make them go farther than flyers. I've been to a lot of fields that rollers won't go as far. If the grass is too tall, if the wind is bad, right? If there's no wind, rollers don't go that well. Yeah. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that will be bad for rollers that won't be as bad for flyers.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think that the variety is the spice of life. I believe that having the choice in there adds strategy, right? And different approaches in the moment that make and break the difference depending on where you are, what the wind is, what the sun is like all those things make a difference. Dog doesn't have to look up at the sun to get a roller. They do have to look up at the sun to get a thrown disc, right? So I like the fact that it's all in there and just use the best strategy that works in the scenario. But we hear this so often that people get so mad when roller people win. It's like they get really mad.
Yeah,
but
and it is
the thing
understandable.
Everybody had the opportunity to use whichever tool they wanted that day.
They just didn't throw
Everybody
rollers.
had the opportunity to throw a roller. And rollers look a little bit easier, but go out there and try and throw a 90-yard roller.
Yeah, they're not that easy. If you're trying to throw super far, especially like
I can throw further rollers than I throw throws. So I can get out in that 90-yard mark if I'm throwing rollers, but I can't if I'm throwing a throw. I can max out at 80 something. Right. But
I do think that I think that, like you guys both said, the two options, like you step up to the line any given day, any given environment, grass, bumps, whatever, and you determine what the best strategy is for that day in that environment. That's kind of the updog way, right? Like we've got every one of our games there's different ways to get high points. And I feel like if we were like, okay, this is the roller division or this is the air division or whatever, now you go only use this strategy. I don't like closing down strategies on folks, but I also think that like my thought would be not that we really truly have world records because we don't, we do have high scores in our system, but we don't really we never set up a system for like the world record or whatever for Updog because we also felt like, I don't know, like if it happens at your local event, I don't know who your judges are. I don't know if I can trust what your score is, like a player could go, yeah, I threw it 100 and, we've had some scores sent in that were like, all right, we gotta check this out. This is impossible. And they measured in feet instead of yards. So, math. There's that, right?
Math.
Anyways, I do think that records, however we end up doing records one day, those should probably be separate. Because
definitely, yeah.
I think there is something to the fact that, like you said, Dre, I think we need to look it up and see what's the best far out score with all air throws versus all rollers. I would venture a guess that rollers is going to be a little bit higher than the air throws.
I know that the top three, I think I have the third highest score from UPDIF, and I know that the top three were all with rollers. And most likely, like, all the way down to pretty, like, top 10 or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
Or at least had some rollers in it.
Yeah, but I do think any given day, anything could happen. Like last year's UPDIF, like we said, rollers were not happening. Yeah. So
And if we look at the like, let's just look at a different organization to compare, right? If we look at the quad, and the quads that were done in Colorado have the longest throws because the air is
Oh
lighter.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot more wind there.
Right?
It's
So
a higher altitude. Like you're not gonna see 110 like 120-yard air throws down low with no wind,
in
right?
Kansas.
No, yeah, you're not gonna see that. You're not gonna see
You're
that
not.
in Kansas.
Right. So, like to go back to the conversation that we had, it really is about the scenario on that day, the space of the field on that day, the wind on that day. Because I've been to, there's Colorado quads that don't have much wind. And you don't see the big numbers coming out of them, but then you see the Colorado quads where they get a new twice 20 mile an hour of downwind and it's all over social
Yeah,
media,
then it's
busting up about
yeah,
100-meter throws. So, that's something kind of interesting to think about if we think about other distance organizations. It's kind of that same thing. It's the variables on the day. If you're lucky enough, and that Colorado event draws the biggest arms because they all want to break the record.
yeah, because that's where you throw the farthest.
Yeah. So if as long as we make sure our, up-dip fields are pristine, everybody's going to be coming to the up-dip field to try and break the records.
Yeah,
We just set up one of those big fans right behind the start line. Just
yeah,
blow
and
the
just
wind that
40
way.
mile an hour tailwind. That's all you need.
I need to go to the one on the moon.
Now I'll go down to the Salt Flats and
That's a
do
good
that.
choice.
Yeah.
It's a good choice.
All right, so Dre, I kind of stole your question there. I don't know if you want to
Oh,
jump
we
in
got
on
it. You're on
numbers.
to the next one. I think we got it.
Okay, all right. So, Finn, I'm assuming that long distance, like far out, any long distance game is your favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my
Yeah.
question. If that's your favorite, then think about the Updog games. What might be your second favorite?
Probably people are not gonna like me for this. Probably boom or freestyle.
Well, at least I got half an answer. Freestyle.
Yeah. I do like freestyle. Freestyle is fun.
Jack likes boom. There you go. You made us
Yeah, boom's
I
pretty. I
mean,
like boom. I
I
like the
don't like
shredder.
Boom more than freestyle. You know that, Dre. But I do
Yeah.
like Boom. Um, and yeah, Boom's kind of like a love or hate game.
Yeah.
The
Oh
people that
yeah,
like it
yeah.
really like it, and the
Because
people that don't like it don't care if it never shows back up at Up Diff again.
yeah.
Yep. Well, the other thing that we've been seeing a lot lately and has become a big trend in the sport, you've been making, I just came back from, what state was I in? Minnesota. People have your discs all over the place. There's
Oh,
custom discs. So tell us a little bit about so you're custom dyeing Hero discs. You're
yep.
also a member of Team Hero. And tell us about your disc dyeing business. You got a
Yeah.
business going where
Yeah.
you're making some
It's called Infinite Art in the Sky. I have a Facebook page, and
Nice.
I dye discs.
Show us some of those. Yeah, that's a really pretty one. Show us a
This
couple of your.
one's one of my favorites. This is a
Wow.
Hero Halo. So this has the color on the bottom. I
Mm.
like dyeing these because it isn't just white on the bottom, right?
Yeah,
Like these. This has the
it has
the
the
halo.
halo. I haven't seen any of the custom dyed halos other than the ones we
Oh
had.
yeah, those are nice. And
That's
I
really
can do and I like the atoms too because I use atoms and sonics. So I dye all the sizes.
so. What's the name of your company again? So everybody can go on Facebook and find it.
Infinite Art in the Sky with two N's.
Infinite.
Yes.
INN. Oh, Infin.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now
Yeah.
you got it, Dre.
I'm so glad I asked you to say that again because I don't think anybody
Yeah.
would have found you otherwise. Infinite. And so it does finite have two N's or just
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Infinite.
INFINN.
Yeah. ITE.
ITE. Okay, so infinite with a fin in the middle. Art
Yeah.
disc. Is that
Art in the Sky.
art in the sky?
Yeah.
Okay, so
In the sky.
infinite art in the sky. Go on Facebook. I haven't found that page yet, so I'm going to go on Facebook and like it also. And if you guys are looking
Oh,
for
thank you.
to support one of our just about to bust out of youth into the real world players and an awesome disc dogger and hero team member for your beautiful custom dyed discs, go check out his page.
And I can tell you that if you contact Finn and you have like a custom color scheme or something like that, he'll do that for you. He's made 2 sets for me with
Nice.
Skyhounds discs because
Nice.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's in
truth be told, like you
I
guys
never
both
even thought of that.
yeah, we're both on team. We're all on Team Hero here, right? But sometimes you got to play with Skyhounds discs when you go to a
you gotta have
Skyhounds
some
event.
colorful.
So I've got some
Oh,
black
you.
and red ones for Ferris and some pink and black ones that he did for Wham.
I never even thought of that. Finn, I'm gonna call you because I need custom disc and playing Skyhounds this year. And yeah, I honestly haven't even bought Skyhounds discs in a very, 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 very long time. I just take the free ones that I get in the players pack and then I have leftover jaws from years ago. So, wow, that's really cool. I'm gonna get some custom dyed Skyhounds. I never even thought of that. That's awesome.
I'm
Um,
waiting. I'm waiting to get to the line. You know how like when you go into the
everybody's
freestyle
gonna be like,
field
those aren't the
and they
right
check
discs.
and they check your discs. I'm waiting for them to be like, those aren't Skyhounds discs. I'll be like, here you go, take a look.
Yeah. So,
That's
when
what
did
we
you
want.
start doing this? When
That's
did you
the
start
goal.
dyeing?
I think October, November.
Oh,
So
so just recently.
yeah, pretty recently.
That's really cool. Do you save the money to buy something, a car? Or are you saving it to help
Mostly,
you get disc dog trips
yeah,
or
mostly disc dog entries
that's
competition.
Yep, that can get expensive.
yep.
Yeah, and discs.
Yes, yeah.
You gotta roll it back into your investment, right? So you make a
Yeah,
little money, you buy some more discs to make a little bit of money. That's how the world works.
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
You're
I
getting
have like
great business skills as a 15-year-old. You're running your own business. That's awesome.
thanks.
Really cool.
So, all right. So, Finn, last question here about Far Out. We, as you probably know, that some of our Updog games have a level 2. Did you know that? Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Far Out does not have a level 2. If we were to create a level 2, any ideas? Have you ever thought about it? Like, what could we do to tweak it for a level 2?
Well, I mean, you could go back to that. You could say level one is rollers and flyers, and level two is only flyers, or level one is flyers, and level two is flyers and rollers. You could do something like that. You could do, like, if you get a catch in a certain zone, right? If you get a catch between like 50 and 70 yards, that's worth more points than past 70 yards. So then you're trying to be more accurate with your distance throws. I think it's a pretty linear game, so there's not a lot you can gonna do with it. But I think
Which is
there's
why we don't have level 2, by the way.
yeah, you don't have yeah.
All right. I like that idea of accuracy though, because right now too, you guys have essentially, I mean, it could
Entire
fade to the
field.
left, 30 yards and there's no
Yeah,
out of bounds. Like
yeah,
we could make it like I don't know if you've ever seen on the rule sheet, it actually shows the field with 2 lines.
yeah.
Like
I mean,
basically
you could just make it have out of bounds. You can't go outside the lines.
right.
You have
Yeah,
to
that
go
could be
straight down the
interesting.
field.
That would be really interesting. And it could be all throws available. It's
Yeah,
got to be in bounds.
you just
Imagine
gotta
throwing
stay
like a
in between the
120
lines.
and have it be just caught just slightly out of bounds.
Yeah.
Breaker.
Well, and that would
But we
impact
had
rollers too, because sometimes towards the end of their trajectory,
they
they
hook
start
off.
going squirrely.
They can swerve a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. That's crazy.
All right.
That,
Well, people have to look out for level 2 coming sometime in the future. That's really broad.
very broad.
Yeah,
Maybe
in the
sometime in
future,
the future it'll be here, perhaps.
sometime.
Potentially.
Mhm.
Sometime. Finn, have you heard of something called the Time Warp Challenge?
I have.
You have. All right. So do you know what the Time Warp Challenge is?
Yes, I
Do you
think so.
feel like you might be ready for the Time Warp Challenge today?
All right, bring it on.
He's clapping. He's ready to go. He's got his game. I got my timer already ready to go. We have our questions already ready to go. So now we just need our countdown. Jack, are you ready?
I am ready. I got
All
the
right.
first
Now, I will
question. You
tell
got the
you,
second.
most people don't get this 10 questions done in 60 seconds, but I have faith in you.
Okay, it's not distance, but I think I can do it.
All right. Ready, set, go.
Finn, would you rather be playing board games or video games?
4 games.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
What is your favorite dog disc to throw?
Supersonic Halos.
Mine too. What's your favorite school subject?
Science. Any type of science.
Would you rather be invisible or have X-ray vision?
Invisible.
Name 3 different types of trees.
Birch, oak, and pine.
Nice.
Oh, you smoked it. 28 seconds.
Best snack for a long competition day.
Peanut butter Ritz Bits.
Good answer. If you could wake up with a new talent, what would you want it to be? 18 seconds.
Be able to fly.
What emoji do you use most often?
Laughing.
How do you want your eggs?
Scrambled.
With 5 seconds left, Finn gets it today, completes our
Good job,
time
Finn.
warp challenge. And you had a doozy in there having to name 3 different trees. You still got it done with 5 seconds left. That was awesome.
That's the one that's whenever we say name 3 different
name
something,
3 things.
people always struggle with that one under pressure.
Yeah, I saw the episode with Die and the 90s bands. I could not have done that.
I couldn't have done that. He gave you a nice one. He gave you ones you could actually answer, but you answered those super fast.
I mean, he came up with it fast, and out of nowhere came birch. Who would have picked birch as a tree? That was great.
Really good job.
True. That's true.
Nice work.
All right. Well, Finn, thanks so much for joining us today and talking about Far Out. Congratulations on your championship, your sweep of the podium. We hope to see you back next year defending that championship at UPDIF 2026, which will be pretty close to you guys, right? It's in North Carolina.
Yeah, we're hoping to go down there for a few games.
Cool. All right. Dre, hopefully we see our... Go ahead. Sorry, Dre, I stepped on your...
No, that's good. I think we're good to go. Thank you so much, Finn, for being our guest today and for sharing about Far Out and your bad to the bone throwing skills and for crushing our time warp challenge. We hope you see you at UPDIF and on some of our long distance fields soon, and hopefully also on the freestyle field.
And check out Finn's Infinite Art in the Sky. Reach out to him if you want some custom discs. Finn, I need to get some more Hyperflight discs done before Dre gets on it.
Yeah, right.
I'm
excited about it now. I'm excited. I actually finally get cool Skyhounds discs. I'm excited about that.
I know that's the thing is that their colors have been the same for years. So definitely reach out to him if you want some more exciting Skyhounds discs for your bag.
Yeah.
All right. That's it, folks. Hopefully we'll see you out on an Updog field soon. But in the meantime,
be kind to each other.
And be kind to your animals. We'll see you next time on The Sweet Spot.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
The variety is the spice of life.